Well, time to make a Zelda theory, I guess. It hasn't been that long, right?
Okay, yeah, it's been 2 months.
Cue the intro! Before this video begins, I would like to say that this video is mostly speculation, and there will be a pretty big question throughout the video that I will not try to answer until the end of the video, so I ask that you watch the whole video before criticizing me. Thank you. Since the beginning of the Kingdom of Hyrule's history, Hyrule has been governed by a monarchy, the descendants of the goddess Hylia. However, even though in the Zelda universe it is the women who are considered divine, we never see the Queen of Hyrule. There have been hints about the existence of a queen, but it's only in Breath of the Wild where they fully acknowledge her existence. Even then, we never really learned that much about her. We know that she was born into the bloodline of Hylia, she was best friends with Rosa, she had a fascination with the Sheikah technology, and she died when Zelda was a young age, unexpectedly. That's pretty much all we know about the Queen.
Actually, I do have a question about the Queen's name.
You see, in the Zelda universe, every woman born into the Hyrulean royal family will be named Zelda, but as far as I know, this rule was never implemented until the Prince cursed his sister didn't turn eternal sleep as a way to honor her, but that was way before Breath of the Wild, and it was in the Downfall timeline. But Breath of the Wild makes it clear that this rule is still in place, so does that evidence for Breath of the Wild possibly being in the Downfall timeline? And even if it is, then why are all these other princesses called Zelda? Is it just out of coincidence like Link, or was this rule implemented sooner? That was just something I had in mind. Back to the theory. The Queen's death was a pretty important part of Hyrule's history. Because the Queen had died a year before her daughter was ready to begin her training to awaken her sealing power, the result was in the young princess not able to awaken her power before it was too late. Most of the theorist community agrees that the Queen did not die of natural causes, because the game describes her death as unexpected. This also pushes me away from the idea that she died from an illness. However, that is still an option nonetheless. Over the years, I've seen people propose all different kinds of theories as to what happened to the Queen, ranging anywhere from assassination by the Yiga to her ascending to the spirit realm. All of which are great theories, but in my mind, they're all missing a key evidence which makes me want to believe it. There's just not enough known about the Queen. Oh, time to play Age of Calamity, I guess.
Light.
How is Aster able to recognize Zelda's sealing power? You'd think this wouldn't matter, but it really does. Even when Zelda unlocks her power, she doesn't immediately recognize it. She says, "Was that the power?" which is a question, while Aster says, "that light," which is a statement. And when you get to the gameplay section right after this, we see the rest of Aster's sentence, which in my opinion proves that Aster fully recognizes Zelda's power. And regardless if you think that Zelda's power is the sealing power or the Triforce, we all know that this is the first time Zelda uses her power, so that means he must have seen the power from somewhere else. Now forget all that, we'll come back to it in a minute. One thing we've learned in the Zelda series is that the royal family of Hyrule perceives time slightly differently than the other inhabitants of Hyrule. And that's because of their ancestor goddess Hylia, who had a special connection to time, as she told us so in Skyward Sword, where she says she's watching over Link from her pedestal in time. This allows the descendants of Hylia to see when danger is about to fall on the land, in the form of visions, but these visions are often very obscure, heavily relying on symbolism. So the Queen likely had a vision similar to this before she died, but she probably couldn't figure out what it meant exactly, so I wouldn't find it unlikely that she would try and seek help from a prophet. Unfortunately for her, she chose to seek out Aster. I find it likely that the Queen would prefer to leave the castle unannounced to search for Aster, rather than request that Aster come to the castle himself. After all, she probably wouldn't want to worry the king or princess if it had turned out to be nothing more than a dream. It's likely that Aster would lead the Queen to a Yiga ambush, and while I'm sure the Queen would put up a fight, with a combination of malice and enough soldiers, she would eventually, but surely, fall. Now, as I'm sure you guys have probably told me in the comments by now, thank you for that. As far as we know, Aster wasn't appointed a prophet or even an ally of Ganon until Tirko was in the picture. I mean, Breath of the Wild is in a completely different timeline, where Aster stays neutral. The game says as much. And my answer to that is he? Because some of the things he says sounds a little too specific to be learned from a robot whose only real way of communicating is by projecting memories.
The great Calamity Ganon selected me!
But how do you know that he selected you? Is it because the Harbinger Ganon follows Aster around? Or was Aster given a direct order from Ganon himself? Even then, why would he choose Aster? Is it because Aster is supposed to be intelligent? Then why not choose someone like Suga, someone whose intentions were to serve Calamity rather than control it? Was it because Aster had a lack of empathy? Are you trying to tell me that there's nobody in the Eagle Clan who had a reduced amount of empathy? It makes more sense to me that he chose Aster because he had already worked with him in the past. So, what if Aster ran away from his village at a young age and found Ganondorf, who made Aster an apprentice of some sorts? And Aster maybe could have even brought down Sheikah technology to experiment with corrupting it with malice. And if you're asking how Aster got the title of Prophet, Ganon could have easily caused events to happen and warn Aster beforehand, so that Aster could warn the Hylians about it in the form of prophecies. In fact, for all we know, Aster could be the very prophet who predicted the return of Calamity Ganon, so that Hyrule could excavate the Sheikah technology for Ganon to use. And if we want to get really nitpicky, Aster says that it was Calamity Ganon who chose him, while the Ganon egg at the time is known as Harbinger Ganon. Overall, there really isn't a lot we know about Aster. Most of the stuff we think we know are assumptions based on what little information we have. Of course, this is all speculation, but if it's true, then what happened to Aster? And where is he now? Hey everyone, Majora here. I would like to give a big thanks to Haley Ray Stout for asking for this video and giving the idea that Aster might be the culprit behind the Queen's death. I never would have thought to maybe draw that line with them, so thank you for that. And, yeah, this video was a lot of fun to make. I'm not sure if I completely subscribed to the theory, but it was still a lot of fun, so yeah, I enjoyed it. We are so close to 150 subscribers, which is insane. You guys appeared out of absolutely nowhere, and it means a lot to me, so thank you. I'm trying to get to a more consistent upload schedule, and I know they say that every video, but I really am trying. There's just a lot going on in my life right now. But each and every one of you guys means so much to me, and I really appreciate it, and I thank you for being patient with me. I'm Majora, and I'll see you guys later.